Yo, what is going on YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. Today, I am bringing you guys 5 unique styles and ways to play support. Not just your stereotypical, I'm going to play backline with teammates. But that is what I'm going to be touching on just because I think it's important. And I'll give you guys a little bit of an updated guide on just support in general, how to play that. Little walkthrough with relics and stuff like that. All the good stuff. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Starting with the backline support, who better to start with than Khepri? So we're going to be going over the build, relics, even recipes, touching on the totem, spear totem that you think would be the best for Khepri also at every level of the game. With backline gods, a lot of the times it's just either compassion or heroism. They are so good, they scale so well, and they're so good into diving comps. And I actually kept it as just benevolence. Usually I have which starter I think is better, or specifically for either this god or every god, but for a lot of these backline gods, it's comp dependent. Compassion is very good if they have a lot of spread out damage and that they're just full on diving. Compassion is going to do really well. Heroism, if they have like just one person diving, 2 people diving, and they're relying on that 1 CC like a Naja Sash to get that kill, heroism is going to be insane. Either way, both very good. So starting with benevolence, tier 1 cloak to start, 5 healing potions, and then the bountiful bow. I'll be touching on recipes in this also because I think that's very important. The cooldown, insane. Khepri is very cooldown reliant. And actually, it's made me edit part of the Khepri build that I've been doing for a long time. Usually, I was a big Thebes and Sov guy. Now, as you can see, I've switched over into Prophetic. I think he needs the cooldown early. I think he's kind of got the same problems as Charon. The problem is Khepri doesn't stack this item well. Well, how do we combat that? I've been going Contagion. Contagion gets you stacks a lot easier, allows you to tank some damage, so deal out some damage, make Khepri feel like he's actually doing a little bit more in terms of DPS, and you also get Prophetic stacks a lot faster. I also think this build just outright feels better because you're getting a little bit of cooldown early, and then it allows you to scale into the Shogun's third. Shogun's third, I think, is pretty staple on Khepri anyway, even if you're doing the Thebes Sov build, but I think this feels a lot better. Emperor, Spirit Robe are an example of a couple items you can go in the late game. Now, what Spirit Totems do we want? At the early game, I think all the way up until the Shogun's Kusari area, I think you want the 10% cooldown. Obviously, if you can't choose, the 10% max health is always going to be good. Never grab the speed, the pen one. Never grab the lifesteal. Never grab the purple one. Go blue early game, and then when you get to this point, about switch over to the max health. You'll be at 20% cooldown here. Bountiful Bow will also be giving you a good amount of cooldown, and then you'll get 30% here and 50% or 40% with your 500 pot. So I think this is where it feels the best. If you feel like you need that cooldown, keep it for a bit. But at some point, you need to switch over, especially when you get that 500 pot to the 10% max health. You'll be very, very tanky on Khepri. Also, you could try experimenting with a Gaia here instead of this Emperor's armor. It's very strong if they don't have a ton of ways to kill you and if they're planning on killing like your teammates. But if they have really easy ways to kill you like a Hunbots, Susano, something where if you just get plucked in, you're dead. Don't go Gaia, go this Emperor's armor, go the Spirit's Robe, get a little bit tankier. For relics, it really just depends on the type of comp, what you need to be doing. Shell is almost always going to be okay, but keep in mind, Erosion just got buffed. It's for now 40 units. Khepri already has a built-in shield, so you have to be a little wary going Shell on Khepri. But Sundering Spear is always going to be good. Shell can sometimes be good. Frenzy is always going to be good. Wings will always be good. Ankh will be good if their dive relies on healing. Bracer will be good if you want to play around objectives a little bit more. It just depends. But I think Sunder feels very good on Khepri because you want to be blowing up the guy you're plucking. So a Sunder into pluck combo, you should be one-shotting the guy, especially with the Shoguns. And like I said, either compassion or heroism, both are fine. Next up, Kuzumbo, the dive support. I used to go Sentinels. I'm going War Flag now. War Flag, Cloak, Healing Potions, and Bountiful Bow. Very, very good starting combo. You'll get this bow in no time, especially when you finish the 1000 mana, but you do spam a lot of mana. War Banner, it's just great. It gives you a semblance of sustain. So in that late game, when you're 1v1ing someone, 1v2ing, 1v3ing, whatever, or just 3v3ing, just team fighting, you're going to be getting War Banner procs to get healing, to get more mana, also spamming a little bit more. Prophetic, it's probably his best item. Go Prophetic. Contagion is just a little bit extra damage to make it feel like you're able to kill people maybe a little bit earlier than a true defense item would be able to here. Like if you went Sov, be a little bit tankier, yes, but you wouldn't do as much damage. Onis has now got that buff. It is now 12% mitigation. This on top of the Prophetic. You will not have this full Prophetic 15%. You'll be at 7.5%. So you'll be at, we'll just say 7%. 7% and 12% with 3 people around you, putting you at 19% on top of Kuzumbo's mitigation in his kit. Pridwin, either Pridwin, one does a little bit more damage, one makes you tankier. I think blue one's slightly better, but if you feel like your team is not putting in the damage that's needed, go the yellow one or orange one, whatever color it is. And then Divine just got buffed. Divine is now 2450 instead of 2550. I think a lot of games, Divine can be the game changer in your dive. It does a little bit of extra damage, but the biggest point is it anti-heals. Kuzumbo's biggest weakness is that he can get healed up off of, or they can heal each other, or something like that. Also, keep in mind, if you are playing the dive, you're not peeling at all, so you need to be able to kill. If you're not killing, you're not doing your job correctly. So if you need an erosion because they have a lot of shieldings, also do not forget, there's always the avenue of, if they have a lot of healing and shielding, get a cursed onk. Don't go this divine. Go into a deso instead, or something that gives you just a little bit extra damage. Binding something if you want to get to that 15% cloak stack too. The biggest thing on Kuzumbo I cannot stress enough, build Scorching Blink. It's a ton of extra damage. It gives you a way to get in, and it gives you good opportunity to set up your own CC and combo someone. I think Kuzumbo is also really good with Thorns, stacks with this too, but if you feel like people aren't really hitting you, they're mostly just running away, or you think that they won't be hitting you late game, just go the Sundering Spear. Gives you a little bit extra damage, and it allows you to actually 1v1 even people who are building some of that magical defense maybe, or some defense health, stuff like that. And then Ankh, like I said, do they have healing? Do they have shielding? Do you need it? Build it. If you don't need it, don't build it. It's a counter item. You gotta learn how to play, build counter items, stuff like that. Go ahead. And for Kuzumbo Spirit's Totem, early game, I would recommend the cooldown, because you're not really getting another cooldown item until this entire Pridwin. And then once you get to the late game, I actually think either the 5% pen, just for that slightly extra damage, or the green buff are both going to be very good. That 5% might feel like it's not a ton, but when you just work it out where it's slightly more damage here, slightly more damage there, especially with all the auras in the game and backliner help, I think that 5% could sometimes change the fight. But I would just recommend going the max health once you get to the late game, and so just the cooldown early game. Pretty easy. Next up, we'll touch on the awesome Jake and Genetic special, Honor Support. Now, what does Honor Support bring, and why is it so good? Honor Support kind of plays like a hyper carry support in terms of damage, but he also has that semblance of peel. War Flag, Cloak, Healing Potion, and Sturdy Stew. I think Sturdy Stew feels really good on those gods that aren't going to be building full defense, because it gives them that bridge of defense to scale up into the late game. Gooseberries is okay, but you don't really need to clear with On Her. Bow, your cooldowns aren't that important on Her, so I think Sturdy Stew actually does feel really good on him. War Banner into Prophetic. If you can get this Prophetic stacked, it is insane. If you're worried about getting it stacked, just go Thebes here. It's fine. It's just, if you can get it stacked, Prophetic has a lot of value. Xe, Shoguns, this should almost always be your first 4 items. And then Kin's Binding, both are also very, very good. This should almost always be your build. If they have like no magical defense and they have a lot of physical, you might have to go like a Berserkers here instead of the Shoguns. But this is exactly what the build should be like 95% of the time. For your relics, Frenzy, Shell, Heavenly Wings, almost always 2 of these 3, because you want to be a team fighting god along with being a hyper carry. And these are 3 of the best team fighting relics. For Honor, I think you have a couple options for the Spirit Totem. Purple buff, I think the attack speed is phenomenal. It can always be good. Feel free to get that one. I also think the health one can be good. Either one is fine. I don't think either of them is exceptionally better. I do think purple is slightly better early game, because 10% attack speed, going from 1.4 to 1.5 compared to 2100 health to 2300 health. It's a lot better to have that extra 10% attack speed. But when you get to that late game, level 19, level 20, either one is fine. If you want to do a little extra damage, purple. If you want to do a little bit extra tanking, green buff. But like I said, both are fine. Now, the next style is my personal favorite style, and it's the Lonos Assassin. So it's good setup, and it's also hyper carry potential. The only problem with this god, or this kind of class and this kind of style, is it is very bad level 1 to like 5. You don't do much damage. You're not that tanky. And you don't really do too much outside of just kind of mess around and do a little bit of CCing and stuff. So you're kind of team reliant for the early game. But once you get to that level 11, 12, 13, and then scale up to 20, you're a 1v5 machine. You have good setup. You can peel. You can do just about anything. So to start, Protector's Cloak, Healing Potions, and Party Punch. I like Party Punch. It feels very good on a god like Naja, who that extra little bit of damage when you're clearing and when you're running around. You're getting stacks really quickly, and through it in teamfight, when it's lasting 30 seconds, you'll be getting 8 stacks of this. You'll be doing like 150, 160, 170 extra damage with this Party Punch in a team fight, because all you have to do is just 100 units. And if Naja in team fights, you're sprinting around, you're getting these stacks, and that's all you're going to be doing. I've changed up the build a little bit, because I think the character needs a little bit more damage than he needs survivability. Lonos Mask, Cloak, I think is a very good combo. You won't be getting to this full 15%, just like the Kuzumbo build, because I think damage item here is better than that extra 7.5%. But if you are comfortable with the regrowth, go regrowth here instead of the Glad Shield. But Lonos, Prophetic, Glad Shield, or regrowth. I'm been playing with Gladiators, and I think it feels really good. Oni's Hunter's Garb. It got buffed to 12%. This is giving you 10% mitigation. This is giving you 12%, and then this is giving you 7.5. The kind of the way you're looking at it is, A lot of times you're not going to be at that 12%. You're going to be at 8%. So 8% plus 7% plus 10% is 25%. If you are having that third person around you, you'll lose out on 4% mitigation. So it doesn't feel great, but it still does feel very, very good. Next up, Pridwin just caps out your cooldown 40%. You get it really early. It's very good for survivability, good for extra damage. Go the blue one 90% of the time. It's better, in my opinion, on this style. And then I think Brawlers, when it got its buff last patch, made it a viable option on these dive assassins. It's just good stats, 40 power, 15 pen. And if you do get a kill in that team fight, don't underestimate. This item is 60 power. 60 power late game. Instead of just being a 40 power menace with this Brawlers, or maybe 90 with the health or the 500 pot, you'll be at triple digits with power. It's kind of insane. The best thing about Naja is that he uses every single relic well. You can throw out a relic and he uses it well. Horrific, Blink, Onk, Magic Shell, Wingblade, what? Frenzy, Bracer, every single item he uses well. Just depends on what you need. He does not need anything. I do think he's slightly safer with Shell because, like I said, his early game is kind of weak. So Shell might feel like it is a best option some of the times because a lot of the times it is just a good default option. But yeah, this Naja build is sick. The Spirit Totem, I would stay away from the 10% cooldown. I think a lot of the other options are fine. I think Naja with a little bit of attack speed feels great. I think Naja with the extra health feels great. I think Naja with the extra pen feels great. Lifesteal, obviously, when you're autoing for 45, getting 7% lifesteal isn't going to be doing anything. So don't do the red one. Go the blue one even over the red one. That's what I would be doing for the Spirit Totems. And then lastly, another one of my favorite styles is the kind of Battle Mage poke style. I think this one's really fun, and I think it's really good too. Sentinels, Lost Artifact, which is tier 1 Chronos Pendant, Healing Potions, and Sturdy Stew. Same reason as on her. This gives you that extra survivability in that early portion of the game when you don't have any protections or many at all. Sentinel's Embrace is going to be your starter upgrade. Chronos Pendant is going to be your first item into Abyssal Stone. These two as a combo feel so good. 35 prots of each, 250 health, 70 power, 20 MP5, 20 cooldown. You're spamming abilities. You're going to be poking a lot, and they're not going to be able to match your poke because of Abyssal Stone. This is also just like a good one-off tank item from level 1 to 9 because it's just good stats. Next up, I go E-Staff. That CCR is not to be underestimated. And then your poke becomes even better. Your survivability becomes even better. Perfect for this god. And then I round it out sometimes with Magi's, Emperor's Armor. These last two items are usually fill-ins. You can kind of build anything outside of these 4 items and it'll feel great. If you feel like your teammates are getting dove a little bit too much and you need something to help them, go a Sov, go a Heartward, whatever you need. Just these first 4 items are the perfect style for Ishtar or for E-Shell. And the Sentinel's Embrace are going to be giving you auras for your teammates also. I almost always go Magic Shell on E-Shell first. I think it's just really good. It gives you a little bit of survivability. Sometimes in some counter matchups, I like going Heavenly Wings. Ganesh, I like going Heavenly Wings so I can just sprint out and not be forced to ult it. But there's a couple situations where I think Horrific and like Onk could be very good in the early game. Again, E-Shell, like Naja, has just a bunch of good items that you could be going. It really just depends on the relic you need. For the Spirit Totem, I would recommend either the 10% cooldown or the 10% max health. You don't have a ton of health in this build. You've got 150 here, 250 here, whatever you get from your E-Staff, and then Emperor's Armor is giving you 250, and then you're a mage scaling in health. So the health is going to feel very good. Double green buff and then health. You'll be getting to 3,500 health just from the green buff and that, and then this build. But yeah, there it is. 5 different styles and unique ways to be playing support. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any styles that you think, maybe you're a fan of full damage support, and if you are, I am too. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.